Okay, we are recording this now, and it is the 17th of September, 2017. I think I managed to get that right. And Joanna and I had been having we had a really good conversation on Skype the other day, having to do with energy and portals and healing and all of these things. And we decided just to continue that conversation, but this time with a few other people on board. So that's really what this is about. And so, Joanna, would you like to sort of start us off?
Well, I think I've been sensing in my work is I work a lot with the Christ consciousness and that communication bridge, if you will, to those who so desire to tune into our offerings. But lately, since coming back from Japan, I've been traveling over the last 6 months all over various portals, if you will, sacred portals. And in Japan, I was activated when I went to Mount Fuji, and I was gifted, beautiful consciousness experiences. And while I was there, the teams had kind of told me that there's going to be a mass transcension coming up. So since that message and since that offering, it's been very accelerated. I've noticed since coming back, and a lot of the work that Bill does, a lot of the information that I was given through client connections. I then offered to you in our conversation last week about the Arcturians offering me a beautiful crystal prism that was gifted in a client session. When we hold it in our fingers like this, a beautiful crystalline rod, we can project and emanate through this rod, and it begins to spin just from our own intentions, and we can create healings and portal energy, because I know that what I'm going to be doing has to do with grids and portals and activations of the Christ consciousness for humanity. So this was gifted to me from what I'm sensing as a part of the ongoing work in activating grids, sacred land, sacred information within the crystalline grids. And so I really felt a strong connection to get in touch with you after, having seen that. And I just kept resonating, connect with Maya. And then you and I got to talking, and then you offered your inspiration onto that prism of the areopacts. And so I've been practicing with that, placing the areopacts on top of that crystal and projecting out this light, wisdom, and healing center for all of the crystalline children and all families to begin healing through the ascension process and entering into this new higher dimensional frequency. So this morning I saw the very center of the areopacts in my meditation, that very center diamond shape. And on that diamond shape, there was another diamond on each of the corners. And so I think that's the very center, from what I'm sensing, of the areopacts from what I've been, practicing myself. So it's just been a beautiful culmination on what you offered, what I've been doing.
Yes. Well, what really piqued my feelings was when you were talking about it. Then I remembered that in one of the video series I had done recently, Thoth presented me with the knowledge that now on the planet, human beings were going to start creating portals. Now, maybe we've been doing that to some degree here, but this is bigger business. These portals are not the same as the ones that we're used to, because they're more. They have to do more with the body, with the micro being, but they also have the ability to take you to other dimensions or whatever as well. And Thoth has explained it as like, for instance, when you're creating one of those crystalline vortices, what you're doing is connecting it. You may even realize it, but it is automatically connecting to one or more portals on the planet.
Well, you're not on a phone.
Hey guys, you need to mute. Sorry.
Hold on.
Can you mute something, because we're not able to hear here.
Probably click the phone link of the other.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I'll try to explain it anyway. So, as I was saying, the
You hear me? Believe yourself.
Yeah,
It's easy to do. Just click on the picture.
trying to get my synchronization back. I'm not real good at multitasking here.
Yeah. Yourself.
Okay, so as we are connecting through our mini portals, so to speak, what is happening is that it is automatically aligning to whatever portal or portals on the entire planet that resonates with the frequency that it's moving through at that time, which has to do with the being that created the portal. See, so you're not even consciously saying, "Oh, well, I want this portal to connect to so and so." No, it's overriding any of that. It's going directly to the energy between the human being that is creating it and the matrix, portal matrix it's creating, and boom, then it rays out to whatever matrices on the planet, and you're probably not even aware many of those matrices exist. See, we know the famous ones, you know, the big ones that everybody visits and whatever, but there's all kinds of portals on this planet that are very dynamic and part of this whole earthen process that we don't even know exists. And some of them, quite a few of them, are in the inner earth, you know. So when you're creating your mini spin portal, it's just boom, it's just connecting to all of those. And what it's doing is it's searching for the codes in those synchronous portals that relate directly to what your need, yes, the intentional need is at the time.
Yeah.
And once the intentional need starts feeding, it feeds into the intentional need, then that need expresses unconscious needs. And I say needs, I'm not talking about surface, you know,
yeah,
lower emotional needs. I'm talking about the true areas that need balancing. See,
yeah.
So it starts with the intentional, and then it moves into the deeper zones that you're not even aware of. So that's how Thoth was explaining it to me thus far. I did try it successfully once. I tried it twice so far. I should have been doing it more, I know, but I didn't. But I did do it the first time I did it. It was really amazing because I was in bed at night. And the problem is I was in bed and it hurt. I have these shoulder problems and it kind of hurts my arms to hold out in front of me. So I didn't do it for long. But in fact, I was having such pain down my back, and I started it spinning, and I mean, it didn't take long at all. And I wasn't even thinking about the pain in my body. I was wanting to do it because it was during the whole hurricane, horrible stuff, and I was thinking maybe I can help people by, you know, creating this portal energy and connecting and help, you know, I didn't know. I mean, maybe I could do something, you know. So I was trying, and when I sent it out, and I've noticed that when I spin it, that's great, but it doesn't really seem to do the thing until I go like this, and it just goes out there. And that's when it came back on me, and immediately the pain left.
Wow.
I hadn't been able to duplicate that the next time, but I know I can. I just have to work with it.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is I notice is that when I do this, I also notice suddenly my fingers start going like this.
Yeah.
So I'm holding it like this, and all of a sudden my fingers want to move.
Yeah, like
they're moving very specific ways, you know,
yeah.
do that. So these are things that I'm just discovering as I go along, as I work with it.
I also had this morning that my teams were telling me that there's going to be another set of codes coming this coming week. So whether it's the fall equinox, but divine codes and codations that are coming through the, you know, not only the solar flares and how it's being gifted, but I think another set of codes that's going to initiate further interaction with the whole ascension engagement. And so this week will be a big week for energy and for really refinement of thought and intention and really peace and harmony. So just sending that out to all the healers, and just know that this week is a big week.
Yes, indeed. And I'm kind of feeling that as we progress with this kind of work, using the aerial packs the aerial packs is automatically being used when anytime you create a portal of any kind. So it's not even, you know, you can add additional focus, but it's there anyway. And using the aerial packs in the form of mini portals, MINI portals, which are very powerful ones nonetheless, it is expanding the Well, I was searching for a word and Thoth just gave me one. He wants to call it the principality of the domain of the higher state of consciousness on this planet.
Yeah.
And it may not seem that, what's like, what can we do, a few people, but, there are other people working with it too. And many of them may have different names for it or whatever, but they're still working with it. We have our own terminology, but it can be expressed in another way. And as we do this, and I do plan to share this video, as we do this, I think more and more people maybe can become connected to this program of light that as we're working it. We could start. I mean, I try to get I have this thing for the aerial packs, and some people have been working with it, and this just it's an extra dimension of working with the aerial packs is what it is.
Yes, and I think it has to go back with the original Israel and creating that city of light, because I keep seeing that diamond shape and the work that the grids and the crystalline energy that we're awakening within the consciousness, the higher frequency consciousness, that Christed higher plane consciousness that is creating these cities of, I see them in diamonds, and that's just what I see. And to me, that just resembled immediately the center of the arrow packs, where we can work with that vibrational electromagnetic portals that we can do with our hands and our bodies and our intention and emotional field to create consciously.
Yes, and Thoth is interjecting right now not to forget about the Yeshuda, and the Yeshuda is that that field around the planet that is constantly moving, and as it moves, it is realigning to different aspects. It's drawing all these aspects of consciousness into its center, and it's expanding it and adjusting it on the planet. That's a simple way to put it. Thoth wrote this thing that I can't even repeat, but but the Yeshuda is connected to what we're doing here, because as the aerial pack spins in its place of its station of light within the portal or the crystalline portal or whatever, and it's raying out to connect to all the larger portals and deciding what energies, what codes need to be pulled in from them into this. That's really the mind of that. The greater mind of that is the Yeshuda and the working of the Yeshuda. So that's another part of it all. Katrina, would you like to say a little something about your work and relationships, of kind of how it's fitting into this? Because I have a feeling it is. I'm kind of putting you on the spot, I know.
That's perfectly okay. I as well work through the Christ consciousness, and I was just filling into my time on Kauai, and what was the seal that was lifted there when we traveled to the center of the island, and the activation that came through was the term that what came to me was more like a creation funnel, the ability for us to begin to work with the matter here, opening up portals as well, but more so moving into our creator selves. Yeah. So watching this still lift and the matrix that it created around Kauai and the connection that it made between the Lemurian and the Atlantean codes was just phenomenal. So I know those on the east side were really doing some work too to really make that connection. But watching the abilities and the things that the people that walked out of the center of the island, what we were capable of doing, I'm still processing it truly. I'm still coming in, computing all of the different pieces and gaining more understanding of what exactly it is that we're becoming here. So that seems to be the connection that I'm seeing, just that activations within the physical body, these newer structures, seems to be where they're moving me now. But I've been traveling for a little while, working with the portals. A lot of the cities of light, really preparing for the network to fully ground in. No, that's kind of the movement that they had me doing for a while. But with Kauai and the opening of these new structures, and right now I'm working with a group of women activating some ways to work with the density and new levels. So just really, truly just bringing back our abilities is what I'm being shown here with these new earth structures opening up within. So for me, it's kind of bringing it all down and grounding it in.
Yes, yes. Well, of course, ultimately, I say, of course, at least from what my personal perspective is through the Thoth streaming, we are helping to build further. It's already in place, but it's building more and more and more the pyramidus radius matrix, which is the ultimate radius matrix that holds all the others, even the Templar, all of them within it now. It's just going, and of course, it's being activated from all those matrices. So the whole energy of that is creating one giant matrix over the matrices, and that means that then, you know, already, but even more so, we're working with one formula, not formula, but one activity that spreads out through all the different ones. And in that way, it's more precise because, again, the bigger matrix says, okay, this energy is coming in here. Somebody's doing some work in Stonehenge. Somebody's doing some work in Kauai. Somebody's doing some work in Belgium, whatever. And it's what it's doing. It's drawing it all into the pyramidus radius. It's from all these different points in the matrices that are still legitimate and operating. But those matrices are saying here to the bigger portal, because the bigger portal is the one that's gathering all the daisies into one beautiful bouquet, you know?
Yeah, that's most certainly how I've been seeing it with, you know, the term even pyramid radius, Maya, I didn't even have until I spoke with you. It's interesting to be fully just walking in the Christ consciousness and fully just listening and showing up in the places for so long, and then finally it all starts to lock together for me, and then to see people really connecting to this higher matrix now is just phenomenal. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to seeing it all come together. This next week is bringing a lot for sure. The codes coming in, the alignments, it's just amazing. I'm grateful to be in this space with all of you.
Well, we're going to be doing something special on the 23rd here in Crestone that Deanna is facilitating again. It's kind of continuation of the last, the water blessing we did. I'm not sure all of the facets of it, but I feel very positive about it, and I think it's going to be really quite expanding. That, I tell you, when we gathered for that water blessing, yes, it was a water blessing, but it was much, much, much more. I mean, it was. I've never been to anything that twanged me like that. It was wonderful. You know, I was just walking on air when I got back. It was incredible. So I'm anticipating this one will be an extension of that. No, tell us about it, Patricia. She just gave me a little note. Share what you had to say on that.
I think Bill and Edie know about it. Carol Fitzpatrick is gathering people October 6th through the 9th outside of Las Vegas, New Mexico. And she's been given instructions from the star elders. Hold on a second. Can someone mute? I've got feedback. Thank you. We've got 3 Zoomcasts going on in the same room.
We still get a little echo, but we can hear you.
Okay. She's been given instructions to open an ancient stargate in the area around Las Vegas, New Mexico, and the Starfire ladies and Chris, as I call them, they're coming. I've signed up to go, and so we'll be doing some pretty powerful work there at that time. And it's all synced, as you know.
Yes, yes. So does anyone want to elaborate on the 23rd? I'm kind of behind the times on it. What's the specialness of that date? Edie and Bill? Did you? Oh, I thought I saw you raise your hand.
Well, Maya, I can speak a little bit because Kailasa was supposed to Zoom in. And as you know, she lives here too, along with Raymond and I. In the morning will be at Deanna's property at the sacred circle that Unity created, and we'll be revisiting the energetics that came in the day of the eclipse. and doing ceremony. And then in the afternoon, we're going to the ancient oak grove. And Kailasa has received guidance that she is to establish a portal or some kind of energetic that will come in to link with Oak Grove, not Oak Grove, Oak Island. And she believes perhaps there's an ancient oak grove in Glastonbury somewhere. And then the three skulls will be connected again. And that's the White Queen, the Isis skull in Oak Island, and the Red Queen.
Yeah.
And so some pretty interesting energetics may come in. And I'd love for Michael to speak to this oak grove here. He knows more about it than I do, so I'm going to mute.
Okay. Yes, Michael. Hi there. Do you have it yourself unmuted? There you go.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So there's a brother here named, well, actually, why don't you start with introduction, Grandpa Gregory?
Grandpa Greg is an old man who's been living in the valley for a really long time. And through my getting to know him and sharing, he unveiled that he was a keeper of the gate of Shambhala. After a couple more meetings with this man, he told us about a sacred oak grove where the portal, as he describes it, to inner earth, but also other places is there. Bill talks about an oaken grove, or groves in general, being a creation field. And what I've picked up on is that in Glastonbury, there's two trees called Gog and Magog.
Yeah.
And they're basically the sacred male and female. And then the trees, I just recently went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and there was a grandfather and a grandmother tree, very, very sacred things. It feels as if, like Katrina was saying, that we're being asked to anchor these things in a very earthly way. And I think whatever it is about groves of trees and rings of trees that establish resonance fields, oak is a really powerful tree. So if we set a resonance in that field, we're really grounding it in our bodies, in the earth body, and from, in our spiritual bodies. I think that Shambhala gate, in order to go through these gates, you have to really be grounded in all those different levels. So it's not, we're being called through the trees, I feel, and through the crystals and these things to ground, kind of like Lord of the Rings, when the trees break open the dams and they speak their wisdoms to the elves and stuff. I feel like they're speaking to us now. They're telling us what we need to do and helping us to ground it in.
That's lovely that you just said that. I'm just going to interject here, because when I was in Japan, I was before I had gone to Japan, my higher self was giving me a certain location on the ground of Mount Fuji to go to. And I didn't know where this location was, and I was just guided by spirit. And when I got to the ground of Mount Fuji, the guide took me in under a rope into a separate part. And as soon as I got under the rope, my hands started to vibrate, and I found a way over to a tree, a log to sit on. And as I sat there, I was greeted by these beautiful consciousness that called themselves the forest keepers. And this consciousness, the time that I was in Japan, what I had been awoken to was the aspects of crystalline energy that we are now awakening with the raising of our consciousness. It's part of the Christed consciousness, but it's coming to us in the form of elemental and Elohim, creatorhood. And this energy I saw as kind of like a floating essence of bubbles of energy through what we understand to be the essence of God, the essence of God energy speaking to us. What I saw was leaves, the essence of trees speaking to us. And so it was a great awakening into the vibration and the language. It's a script, it's a language, and it links somehow to what I understand is ancient text, ancient script, that will also be coming to the surface in the next coming months as part of the human disclosure. But these ancient texts, ancient language, as well as the trees, as well as the elemental consciousness, are all speaking to one another. And it's the encodations that were gifted by the divine, by the Holy Mother Father, by the Holy Creatorhood, to allow all of our consciousness to raise our vibrations. And those that are keen to nature or elementals or to certain portals of energy, whether it be the trees or the land or the rocks, because I love rock consciousness too, there's a language there that's linking, I feel, or I believe, this higher consciousness vibration. So thank you for bringing that up and allowing it to entangle.
Yes, I so agree with that, Joanna. I pick up the languages a lot too, from the trees and the mountains and everything, you know.
That's an interesting thing too, with bringing in the elementals and the language from the trees and all the elements. I was just gifted a sacred journey up to Mount Crestone, about 12,000 feet, to Lake Crestone for 6 days with Peter May, who's been working with the plants and the elements, making music. He was part of the ceremony that we did out at Deanna's. Deanna had said that she is the gatekeeper of the Garden of Eden. Grandpa Gregory says he's the gatekeeper for Shambhala. And Peter told me I'm going to be doing a grounding rod, basically, as we're in the ceremony in the Sacred Grove. And shortly after that, Raymond has finished his staff and added a generator crystal to it. And I'm going to be taking that in and using that to actually bring in the new codes as well. So the codes he's been bringing in for quite a few years now. And the 6 days up the mountains, just to touch real quick, was working with the 5 element goddesses and then the Divine Mother. And we spent just each day doing a different element. And coming down the mountain, the trees were literally singing to us as we'd walk through the aspen groves and the wind would blow. There's a few of us that could actually hear a language, hear a song. And we had a few mystical moments like that. So something about this oak grove, the connection to Oak Island and possibly Glastonbury and probably many other sacred tree groves is really really intriguing to me. The Hopi legends, which are very prevalent here in Crestone, mention at the very end that once we are more balanced and being the good stewards and they call it the cleansing or the purification, once that has taken place, that the grandmother trees will all appear again. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the folklore, but supposedly way back when, on every continent, there was a mother tree that went up for miles and the branches spread across the land. And the Hopis actually have a legend that that'll happen, that those trees will come back.
Ooh. Exciting.
Yeah. As well as the mystical beings, the dragons, all the elementals as well. So this is a very exciting time. To touch on Anthony just brought up too, though, this is happening within us as we speak.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We're going through this right now internally, and then in the spirit, and then we walk it on the 23rd and embody it into the earth. And that's what I'm so excited about, just seeing how this manifests, how it unfolds, and very blessed to be here with you guys as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joshua. And
May I
yeah, yes, Bill.
Yeah. I just wanted to speak a little bit on the language that you were speaking about. It's absolutely amazing to notice how much of this reconfiguration and this movement, you were asking what's occurring here on the 23rd, and what they just keep showing me is all of these structures really coming back into form, because everything's been so lucid. It's been like, it hasn't had any like form. And whenever you were speaking about the language, what I'm noticing with the activations, and I was blown away when they told me, what we'd be doing even in, when was that? In July, back in November. It's like, really? We're going to be able to speak into the molecular structures on this level once again? It's here now. It is. And being able to go out and being able to connect with all of creation and feeling the movements and really having that knowingness and that awareness of what it felt like, because we were once there, right? We were once that connected. So just seeing all of this coming back in and into physical form. I'm going through massive transformation over here, and my whole being, its ability right now, they're saying the whole thing is what's possible for the human body. How much energy can we really store in this vessel? And they're like, it's not really so much testament to your mastery, but to your physical vessel. You know, what is it that it can hold? So I'm just watching this beautiful dance that's happening, and just watching them all come back into form, and watching all of the collective, all of the grid work, all of the portals we've opened, everything that we've done up to this point, really connecting and coming online, and watching the hearts open up and being able to make that connection. That's what's beautiful to me. You know, I'm very much a creator being. So that's where my heart really rests, is in that full connection and in that openness of, you know, once again being one.
Absolutely. When I sat there at the last gathering with the water blessing and the trees and everything, and they had that machine hooked up to that tree, and that tree was speaking to us in musical notes. It was the most incredible thing. And we know that these machines exist. In fact, I knew about one back in the 70s. It was a primitive one that I played with. But to sit there with, you know, with all this going on, because see, it was reacting to us, the skulls, the crystals, the things we were doing, the prayers we were giving, and you could hear it. The tree was chiming in. It was part of the whole you know, it was saying, I'm here too, and I'm expressing, I'm saying, you know, I'm praying with you, I'm chanting with you. It's amazing. Yes, Bart.
Yeah, I want to add to that. Maybe some pretty exciting confirmations also from my side from Belgium. I went on a pilgrimage, in a Rochelle pilgrimage in Glastonbury in the summer vacation, and we had one of my group. We were 12 people, including myself, 6 men, 6 women, and we actually also had a specific connection. Without me knowing, I haven't met these other light workers, but they're called Patricia and Ofra. And they had asked one of my group members to actually bury a crystal near an oak tree in Tintagel, in Avebury, and Glastonbury Chalice Well.
Wow.
And well, Tintagel was a little bit difficult because, of course, it's near the coastline in Cornwall. But some guy came up to my group member, and he just out of the blue said, I have an oak tree, which is a very special oak tree, and this is a special leaf and all that. So that was quite special, and it kind of resonates with what you were just saying, Katrina, and also Joanna, and also Joshua and Michael. So we also prayed at a tree, an oak tree near West Kennet Long Barrow, which is in the middle of Glastonbury. You know, it's one of those magical places where lots and lots of crop circles have been falling over the last decades. Lots of UFOs and paranormal phenomena that occur there, and that tree was also actually reacting very clearly to our prayers. So we felt the joy of the tree, and it's amazing that you guys have had separate experiences that are very similar to what I experienced with my group, you know. And of course, we're all I hear you talk and say grid work coming online, Katrina. That's exactly what we've been experiencing as well on this side of the world. So. Yeah, great to connect in this way. You know, it's yeah. Michael, you wanted to say something.
Actually, you touched on something that I'd actually like to invite Raymond, if he's willing to address. His experience in Glastonbury was something that happened at a tree. Raymond, do you mind?
Can you turn? You just need to unmute your. He's not sure how to unmute it, I don't think. He's new to this. There. Okay.
Oh,
Now
okay. I didn't quite hear him. He's coming through like an echo, resonating right through me. When I was in England, I had my staff with me, which had a few crystals mounted on the side. And when I was sitting at Joseph Arimathea's tree, I was guided to remove one of those and plant it there. And I also did a few other things there too, but it was all in a long-term process of bringing through the divine feminine. So that was a start of it for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there more you'd like to tell us about that?
Not about that particular crystal, but there will be more coming out in the very, very near future.
Well, Ray he makes these beautiful staffs that he carves by hand. They're absolutely gorgeous with all the sacred geometry on them. You just wouldn't believe them. They're so intricate. And with the crystals and everything, and he gives them away. I have one and some of his other carvings. And he's created this peace pole, this big peace pole, and he's still working on it. It's a work in process, and he's carving on that. And tell us about what you're going to be. Are you going to have the carving finished by the 23rd? Because it's portable, and he puts it, he brings it to the circles and whatever.
I am hopeful to have it done in about another 3 or 4 days.
Great, great.
I'm down to the last 2 or 3 symbols. My intention, along with everybody else there, would be to anchor into all the oak sites, from Oak Island to Oak Grove, to the tree at Deanna's house, the one that was singing to us.
Yes.
And I will anchor in all the encoding that is coming through at this time on the peace pole. And I'm listening to everybody, and they're all so 1,000% on this. Nobody knows what's coming through on it yet. I am going to document it, and along with taking photographs of all the symbols, I'm also going to create CAD design programs in order to create a document to highlight every bit of encoding.
Oh, wonderful, Ray. Thank you. That was great.
Some of this is also coming through with new technology for the future. Water treatment, you name it, it's all new technology.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to completing this and sharing it with everybody.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. Bill, have you been wanting to say something for about an hour?
I'm still, there we go. Relative to studying the shamir, that gets into staffs, trees, and so forth. That brings it together. Staff is a movable tree. A tree is central into the whole Judeo-Christian dynamic, starting with the tree of life and then the tree of knowing, which includes the ability to think about what you know, and also based on goodness, love. So that composite tree in Genesis is the thing that generates, is coded into the Shamir. Shamir is all the serpents, dragons, and all of that combined. That Shamir picks up all the programs out of the central tree's plural dynamic, and codes everything from our main new self formats as Elohim, codes all of that with the fruit of the tree, and then becomes the keeper of the way of the tree of life in the gateway into the garden and Eden and all that whole format. So for me, the staff, tree, Judeo-Christian dynamic, our new self in the formats in and as Elohim, and it's more complex than that. That whole dynamic then is centered in that basic tree. That's it.
Wow. Well, that's a lot, Bill. Thanks a lot for sharing that. As you were speaking, Phil's kind of tapping me on the shoulder. He's saying that, this first part he's told me years ago, and that is that there were two Gardens of Eden. One was the original, when the lotus reality came down the route to the lotus and into this realm. That's when the higher beings from Rigel and whatever, came down here. That was from the lotus. And in the lotus, all of our, the human form began as plant-like. it kind of looked like a body. You know, it didn't look like a flower or something. But it was also kind of nested in these petally like ether, you know, little waves. And then it came down and it was rooted. It had a tendril, and it was rooted in whatever you passed for earth, for ground, in the lotus reality. And then eventually it started moving around. In other words, it would trail its little root and then put the root down for nurturance, you know, and then move around here and put the root down. So that's the way we, as the light engendered human beings, we're all mixed as both. So I'm not separating us from other people, but I'm just putting it in this frozen moment here. The light engendered human beings, that's how they were created. And they came down into the root. And when they came and propagated the earth, they started mixing their genetics quite naturally with certain other forms that weren't even human. And then what happened was, but they were, it was part of the natural world. It was part of the synergic field. But then when you got the Anunnaki and all that stuff, which was much later in time, there was a second Garden of Eden created by them, a testing ground for their new species, you know, and all of that. And that's where Adam and Eve got, you know, so the two stories have gotten all squished together. And it's almost hard to separate them. It's like two pieces of chewing gum. You just can't separate the myth out, because part of the myth's over here and part of it's over there. So, but the reason I'm bringing this up in this moment is because Thoth is saying that okay, let me get this right, that the tree guarding the Garden of Eden, the tree energy that we call, or a pillar of light, the later wish, it becomes the guardian tree. It was placed at the original garden from the lotus reality down. When human beings came down, they were still under the guardianship of that Laowish pillar, which we're calling the tree. However, then when we broke with the signature of light of our own genetic field, we didn't cast it aside, we broke with it. We said, I'm going over here for a while, you can stay there. And when we did that, then we succumbed to these other impressions and energies, and we were drawn into eventually the second tree of life, which was part of, kind of merged with the whole Anunnaki plan. And so as human beings, we've had the bitter and the sweet, you know, the sweet and the bitter. And now what we're attempting to do, or we are doing in our genetic field, with all of these, what we're talking about, the portals and the trees and all of this, and the plant kingdom helping us, because they're our brethren, is to bring that genetic focus back in alignment, so that all the extraneous pulses, the extraneous frequencies of half-light, orotronic light reality that were captured in this experimental genre that we openly open to. We weren't victims of it. We opened to it and allowed that to come into our field. Now we are casting it out. It's not casting us out. But we're doing it with just natural harmonics and love, not out of, you know, going to battle with anything. It's just a matter of getting into that harmony again. And that's what the flora, the fauna, the trees, the oaks, all of this are, you know, they're our brethren, and they're helping us to perform this act. Okay, I'm through. Yes, Bill?
A couple of notes relative to the Eden tree. Evil was inserted into the perfect plan, tree of knowledge of good and evil. So now when we're eliminating the fall factor to work with the future, we purposely eliminate the evil factor out of that whole system. And that's a big thing. So the Ra in Hebrew is really the ability to think, and that's where the thinking, that's where the evil was inserted purposely in that whole Genesis formula, to be able to make mistakes and experiment and develop the new race. The other point I wanted to make, which I've forgotten now,
It's okay. I do that all the time.
Catch up when you're
Okay. Okay.
There were 3 forms of human that were created, in that when Elohim was creating man and woman, there's 3 forms, including the Eve and or Chava and Adam. There are 2 other formats for humans. And so there's a triunity in what this Elohim model for the new race would be. So anybody studying this whole subject would really need to trash can the English and go back to the original Hebrew and the codes and look up the words, because there are a whole lot of information that's canceled out through the English manipulation of it.
Yeah.
It's a very precise coding that you need the original Hebrew characters and formats, and Strong's Concordance. It's about the only book that you could really find useful translations in. You'd have to know how to use that. So
yeah. Well, Phil speaks of the Adam Kadmon as the original blueprint for humanity, but he's also saying that when we move into the new Earth star experience, the Adam Kadmon we don't discard it, but it shifts into a higher frequency and a higher dynamic, and that's what allows us to become pure gem engendered beings and not have to go through the death cycle that we do here. We still are transforming from one state to another, but it's not so, problematic. It's just keeling over, then somebody has to bury the remains. It's a different format. It's a little more graceful.
I'm not arguing with anything Thoth is saying. I go with his story.
Oh, no. I was just adding that. I'm just identifying
the scriptural.
Yeah, right. Well, and also, we have that chewing gum factor again from the Bible, in that some of what's in the Bible is talking about the second tree in the garden. Some of it's talking about the first tree in the garden. And, I don't know. I don't know as much about it as you do, Bill, the Hebrew and all that. But I'm just saying that all of these ancient texts, even the Zohar and all of that, as far back as you go, they've got a little bit of country, a little bit rock and roll, a little bit of each of these sides, and they're kind of all squished together. And so, but I don't think we need to be concerned about that. The point is, we're working with this process, and that very process itself separates it all out. And nothing, as Bill pointed out, the insertion that was made was to allow us to find our way back. Because see, when we broke from the conscription of light, that's when we needed to that was even before breaking from the inscription of light, was before we were quote unquote cast out of any of the gardens. That happened first, and then we had to have the garden to help protect us and nurture us. But the garden also gave us a sense of the scope of the reality we had entered. And when it did that, it allowed us to make our own decisions as to what we were going to do with that energy, because that's what we came down here to experience in the first place. So, it's part of the whole. But now we've done that. We played in the sandbox a long time. And now it's time for us to, dust our little fairy wings off and shake the sand off and start moving up the scale, so that we can, we don't no longer need that factor. We've already experienced it. We've digested it, and we're ready to move on.
The tree of life is it's basic to everything. That's the Selah field that you create. If you're going to create something, you create it on this Selah life field. That's foundational, through the silence and then life. So the tree of life is basically supporting everything, and it incorporates into and as the life factor, the divine life factor, the thing you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you identify that in the scriptural stream as the tree of life. Without the life, there isn't any knowing, there isn't anything.
Yeah, right. Yes, Anthony.
we kind of talked about a vision that I had recently, and I feel like it fits in. It was a sapphire tablet that Joseph of Arimathea had, that when he was carrying the staff, that he also had this sapphire tablet, and that those two things together were basically the field and the creation. You know, the field of potential being the tablet, the sapphire tablet, and then the manifestation being the staff. So the vision I saw was him praying over the tablet and giving it over to a field of potential. And then when he felt the moment had reached it, the right time or whatever, he would plant the staff over it. And I believe it, you know, the staff was the representation of the masculine, maybe, and the feminine was the field, the sapphire field. As the story goes, he plants his staff and it turns into a tree of life, when it was just a staff.
Yeah.
And I feel like this tree, the staff, the Shamir energy is programming the divine feminine field, which would be the ring of oaks, you know, is the field. And then the staffs are actually the oak trees, but it's a many-pillared thing now, creating a ring around the feminine, which is a container for basically a regenesis.
Yeah.
And my understanding on the 23rd, the number 23 is actually the number of bringing dreams into manifestation. And that is key enough. And then also Jupiter, what they're saying in the astrologies of it and stuff, just so everybody knows, is that Jupiter has been in Virgo for 9 months. And it's going to exit Virgo. Basically, Virgo is going to be giving birth to a child. And the scripture in the Bible, and Bill could probably tell us more, is, you know, the woman wearing the sun and riding the moon with 12 stars around her crown, and giving birth to basically the second coming. I think that's really what's happening. And we've been seeing this field be created. You know, when I talk to the chemtrails now, and I say, you know, you're getting cleaner and you're dissipating and you're dissolving into total clean air, it's actually working now. Before, when I would do that, sometimes it would work, sometimes but now, if I focus, that jet stream disappears, and if I stop praying, it reappears when I stop. So we're being given these gifts of ultimate creation in a time where the dreams coming down into reality is going to be offered to humanity. And I think that day really is a key time to what we focus on, is what we're going to create, and it's going to move the pools.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that, Anthony. Patricia mentioned that Ray had brought his staff to show us. It's so intricate, I hope we can see enough of it. You have it here, Ray, with the geometries? Oh, is that the peace pole? Is that the peace pole? Undo your, Ray, you're going to have to undo your mute button, sweetie. Mute button. Now the camera went off.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I hear you, but now I can't see you. Oh, there you go.
Okay, now I'm going to stand up with the camera.
Okay, we got it. We got it.
Yeah, this top symbol was present the day of the water ceremony. Since then, other symbols have been coming through, if you can see them. I can't tell from my end, so somebody guide me.
We can see it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This segment here that I'm showing you is a new generating force for water treatment, free energy, and perhaps a few other things. We're dealing an awful lot with the new DNA helix, which is part of the old flower of life concept. We're moving into the divine feminine energy, the real consciousness, the feminine logo, I am that I am, which is the physical I here, as above, so below. Everything is dealing with golden ratio, total synchronicity, total harmony. And I still have a few more to go at this time.
Yes.
So,
Oh, beautiful, powerful. Yes. Amazing.
and I got a few more down here, if you can see them.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And when I put it on the computer program, I'm able to insert colors, which reveal a totally different pattern,
Yeah.
hidden dimensions, you name it. It's a totally different energy pattern with the colors.
I really see the seraphic energy there too, with the wings, the way the wings are displayed.
Exactly.
Very much
Yes.
the seraphim, which of course Soph always comments that the seraphim is the angelic.
This segment here, this segment here deals with the aerial pack also.
Oh yeah, I can see.
Yeah, and so this is what you want to look at here, or is
Up
it
a
below?
little higher. Up a little higher. I want to see the aerial packs.
Okay, the aerial pack is, I'm going to try to balance this here so I can use two hands. The upper portion is the triangle, a lower triangle. It forms a grail cup, two grail cups. Also, it forms an hourglass formation. It's the same image that the Hubble telescope photographed out in the universe. It's called a nebula. And it's unbelievable that it comes in so defined just using golden ratio proportions.
Amazing. Yeah, that's beautiful. And you have the little top handy to show us? It's like the part that goes on the top?
Oh, no, that crown and the temple that goes on the top, that's still in my car.
Okay, no problem.
And I still need to finish it. Excuse me. I need to finish mounting the crystal.
He has a crown temple top with it, the crystal in there, which reminds me of, something that Tho showed me one time. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I'm looking forward to documenting and sharing with everybody. And
sure,
all of this will be anchored in all of the sites. I am going to be asking Michael to take my staff into Oak Grove, and I mentioned to Kalasa, she may want to take her healing wand, which is connected to this symbol here, and she can use her wand at Oak Island, and we can connect all the sites, all the skulls, all the ISISes.
Yes, we will. Sholar will be working with that as well.
Yes. Some of the minor symbols, when they overlap, create other dimensional symbols that you'll only be able to see with the CAD program when I can insert colors. For example, this one here and this one here, they merge together. It's also like an aerial pack type thing. Coming together, creating a light Merkaba body.
Wow. Well, I can already see the color versions. It's going to be beautiful. Yes? Someone said something.
Yeah, Raymond has also carved plaques, and he's given one to me and to Michael, and I think
and Bill.
I think we're getting downloaded with how things were created, way back when in the original creation things, all these myths and stuff, they have very similar stories, and it seems like that's what's happening. Now we have a staff with the geometry on it from Raymond that is all the new geometries. It has the plaque, which has the new. It just seems like all the elementals and the nature spirits and the human spirits are all really synergizing to create this regenesis. And so what to do exactly, who knows, but I feel like that's really what's happening on the 23rd, is to use our speech and our mind and our heart and our emotions to create the paradise that we know this earth is supposed to be again.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true. Yes, Joshua. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. Michael.
On that same note, I was talking to Grandpa Gregory the other day, ran into him in town, and just mentioned that before it was going to be just Gregory and Anthony and I going out to this oak grove until it just blew up. It just, too many coincidences, synchronicities happened. And he said people just started showing up at his house. He goes, I have 7 chairs, I need more. So light workers have been just showing up at his place. And he just mentioned to me just about a week ago, the day before the experience, that he's going to walk us up there. I asked him what's going to happen when we get there, just to see what his answer was. And he just smiled and said, I'm not going in. I'm just going to show you where it is. And so after the laughter subsided, he got really serious and he said, you light workers, you Grail families, and many other names, he used a bunch of different names. He said, you guys will just intuitively know what to do because the code is within you now because of the work you've been doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what Thoth says to me so often when we're getting ready to do something with the show or whatever. He just says, just tell them to do it. It's there. They don't have to have a lot of instructions.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then just to connect this to what happened up in the Crestone Lake, I mentioned this to Peter May and to a woman named Kim, who also identify with the Grail families and understand everything we're talking about. Some of them at much deeper, especially Peter, at a much deeper level. And he said a very important thing we could be doing between now and the 23rd is every single time we walk outside, start talking and touching the plants. Talk to the trees and touch the trees. Talk to the rocks. Because if you have crystals and rocks and all these other embellishments in your house, start talking to them. He said that's what's going to really make this a powerful experience and really bring it home. So just so you know, you were talking earlier, Maya, about the machines that Arnie and Aaron and Peter have that record that let the trees and plants play. He said those are just go-betweens. He said if you really get up there and listen, you can actually hear the music. So we actually had one night that 3 of us actually heard the tree singing, and then we heard a singing bowl in the mountains. We actually heard it. And he was blown away. We heard a flute one night, 2 of us. And so he got into that as well. And he said, all these machines are doing is just for the people without eyes to see and ears to hear, it's given them exposure. And so I just want to touch on one little thing. He has actually just put out a new album working with the trees and plants in this area. And that has already landed him a concert in the Redwoods. That is now going, after this week, we had a big discussion about this. In the next coming years, there are going to be concerts in the major groves all over the planet.
Marvelous.
So to bring that music to the people that right now can't hear it.
Yes. Because it will activate them.
Exactly. And that's exactly his mission. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Johanna? Excuse me.
As they were just my team was just downloading to me that all of these different, when I was in Japan, one of the clients and one of the participants in the workshops gave me a light language drawing that she was doing, and she's been creating masks as well as these drawings, and these drawings are higher dimensional activations, but these masks take one mask has like a myriad, say 30 or 50 different layers on it. And each layer is a communication. It's a communication of energy and vibration. And she doesn't know what it means. She just does what she does when she's in that zone. But what they were telling me is that they were showing me those images of what she had drawn for me in the masks that she's creating. And I had an activation looking at one of them, one of the nights that I was there. But they were showing me that many of us have come forward from different star systems. And this is why this planetary ascension is so unique and so beautiful, is because we each come with different encodations and DNA activations from our different star systems. And this is why this melting pot of encodations and how we read and how we create and how we interpret and how we share it in moments like we are doing now, it creates that melting pot that continues. And sacred sharing like this is so important because it goes back into what we were saying, Maya talks about is the primus radius. And that's where our different galactic and star system and universal and multiverse experience is now becoming the greater essence. How we
Yes.
create it, through the light language, and there's a myriad of different light languages with tonal healing that I do, with all of these different, the light, the drawings and the masks and the vibrations through the trees and interpreting music from the trees. It's all our inter-universal mixing of what we're now creating in new vibrational templates I'm seeing.
Well, it is. And just one second, Bar, I'm just going to say one more thing, then you have the floor and the chair and everything else. Is that for me, and I know this may sound strange to some of you, probably not, but for me, because I'm not able to really get out there and do all of that stuff, I find that in the cyber world, when I go into Second Life, and I'm working with the energies on that subtle level, all those pixelated energies in that field, and I create the videos I do, the dance videos and the other things, and bring in the horses, I swear to you, I'm creating the same kind of fields. I'm touching the devas. The devas come to me in the form of these pixelated plants and animals, and it really works. And then I put out the video and people write me and say, oh, I felt so, my heart was so there's all kinds of ways to activate this this geometry that you're talking about. Yes, Bart.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, to Joanna's point, that we all come from different star systems, and it's so important to bring in the mix, and to like you said, or Toth said, that we already have the codes, and all we need to do is to show up and actually do the work. That was actually, exactly what I received yesterday. Yesterday I did my with my group, with Quorum Lexus, we did a Rochelle workshop already, so for the equinox of the 23rd. And we actually received, I received images when we did the Irapax formation that actually completely aligns and synchronizes with what you guys have been saying right here. I'm very excited when Joshua or Michael, I forgot your name, Michael, and then
Anthony.
Anthony, okay, I'm sorry, Anthony. So what you said about talking and praying to the chemtrails, I actually saw that in the meditation. That there was some, first of all, it was organic, energetic. So the system that I saw through my inner eye during the Irapax meditation was organic and energetic. And then I saw how there was a tri-unity of a plant, so some kind of a lily that opened up, and then a whole new universe came out of that plant, of that flower, right? And then all sorts of crop circle formations were put on top of that, and it created a mechanism. And then I saw how that mechanism was, through the Leo-ish pillar, myriads of them were actually connected to the cosmos, to the higher programmings, and then in the inner earth, they were connected to the Pymander, so to the inner earth atoma. And all of this created a whole energetic that was cleaning up the air, that was creating large holes in the atmosphere that was completely polluted. And the same thing happened with the polluted waters and all that. So it was, I saw every time I was given a larger image of the earth, of our planet, and I saw how the equation was, for the equation to happen and to be successful, it was so important for all these different people from different star systems to come together, because otherwise it wouldn't work. The beautiful thing about it is that it's actually all about the coming together of all the tribes, Lemurian, Atlantean, all those. It's so important for all of us to come together and do the work right now from the heart and connect, and then it will work. And that's the only way I receive, it's the only way we're going to beat the old schedules and all that. So I just wanted to share that. But
thank you. Yes, that is so true. Thoth speaks about all the tribes, the star tribes gathering too, and the ways, the migrations that came to this planet when the lotus was formed from Rigel and all of that. But then they said, okay, come on in. And all these star systems at their own timing and space and place started flowing down and entering into this realm. And, you know, you can say, well, why did they ever come down in the first place? Because that's where everything got messed up. But, you know, I feel that Thoth has never really addressed that specifically, but what I've received from him through the years on all of it, I've come to feel that what it's about is that everything has a moment of decision, a moment where the cosmos shakes and quakes, and what we call the souls within it are awakened from their sleep for this moment, and they go, I need to make a decision. And it's not the kind of decision we think of, you know, down on the earth, but it's a decisive moment. And when they decide to explore the entire field, including the parts that have been that are the lesser than parts because of whatever happened, when they decide to move into that, what they're doing is they're offering themselves as vehicles for transformation of everything that's in that realm. And that's so, you know, there's no mistakes made when we did that.
That brings me, this is a good point to bring this in, is yesterday morning, we were at the cafe, and the girl that I've been seeing was looking up, you know, the prophecies about the 23rd, and one of the prophecies that popped up was the return of the Lion of Judah, or the tribe of Judah, and you know, what would be considered the lost tribe. I think that this tribe was the Syrian lion beings, and that the return of the lion tribes of Judah, you know, the Syrian beings are, to my understanding, and I could be wrong, but they're very compassionate and very courageous, lion-hearted beings. You know, they have the compassion, but they are also very decisive and discerning as to what needs to happen when in order for the best thing to happen, and very wise and very strong. And, you know, they had a planetary catastrophe, I think, where some of the Syrians were displaced, and they ended up coming here. And, you know, as the prophecy goes for the Native Americans with the white buffalo, there's also one in Africa about the white lions. And that when the white lions would be born, that was a sign that the Syrian beings were going to come back very soon. So this return of the lion tribe of Judah, you know, we were talking in the cafe, and I feel really connected to Ethiopia, and I've been really called to the mountains there. I see a giant tree at the bottom of Mount Zion, and I see people blowing trumpets and many tribes coming together in preparation for this, whatever these energies are that are incoming, because I think a lot of the tribal people still know that this is going to happen, and they're very aware of it. And I think that's one of the other things that's also happening, is this kind of return of bravery, of courage, of true compassion and discernment. And it may seem cold in the way that it's delivered sometimes, but it's really from this very strong, very knowing place that these beings have come to offer help in their energies. But we're only going to be allowed to change as much as we are that ourselves. You know, if we're in touch with our courage and our justice and our things, then we will be able to change the world. If we choose to maybe be the light workers that maybe sit in the back row and send our energy to the front line, you know, everybody has their part, but I feel like maybe more of us in this groups, Bill's and Maya's groups, are a little more acquainted with certain things, and for us to really step out and be bold and say, you know, I mean, you know, Bill and Edie and Maya have been stepping out for years, but for us to go to these groves and connect these angelic realms, and, you know, to hike out there and touch the land and touch the crystals, knowing that the stars are all twinkling their codes to us, even when it's daytime. You know, the stars are encoding us, and
Yes.
it's very special.
Well, Thoth said something to me about the tribe of Judah when we went. Let's see, this was in 90. What date was that this came through? I guess it was on the journey 97 to Egypt and the Sinai. And I'm trying, but I can't remember. I don't want to interrupt us to go look it up, but it's one of my publications. But what was indicated was that the tribe of Judah was like the main font for transformational energies that are coming forth for now. That's the bottom line. But I can't remember all the details he gave me. Ooh, look at that picture that Bill is holding up there. That's pretty cool. What does it say underneath it there?
Just put this on the wall like 3 days ago. It says the line of the tribe of Judah.
I'm sorry, it says the tribe of Judah what?
The lion of the tribe of Judah has triumphed.
Ah, the lion of the tribe of Judah has triumphed. Man, that's powerful. Yeah, I like that. Yes, Michael.
This conversation came up in the mountains as well. We were talking about the lost tribe or the 144,000. It came in many ways. The Grail family, again, it came in many names. And one of the women, there's 3 men and 4 women up there. And one of the women said, "Well, could it be? Where's the best place to lose a tribe, but right here amongst the people?" And that these beings coming back in are us. It's the code coming within us. And so that started this long conversation. And one of the things that was really interesting, and I've heard this said here in Crestone before, is that just like the conglomerate rocks you find all up here, that's what we are. We're this big conglomerate. We're star beings from all over the galaxies. And as these codes come in, it's not new code, a new sacred geometry. It's actually the original source code. We're remembering. It's a remembrance, so to speak. It's the ancient ways before everything became adulterated. And it's just interesting that this just keeps coming up in conversation here in Crestone and other places almost on a daily basis now.
Yes, that's very true. All of it's so synchronous that, I have a list this long of things I want to get to write about or do a video on or whatever, and then more comes in. It's like, I haven't gotten to that one yet. There's just so many, Yes, Bill?
There's a thing, sort of a footnote. The tribe of Judah, that's the Yud in the alphabet, which is coded as originally drawn as the bent arm or the open hand. The power and dominion of all points are cast from that open hand, or the Yud, or the Yud, or the Jewish race, or race, I guess is a good word, that are carrying that program or charge. So that's a vast, a huge so-called mystery of that whole Yuda open hand, the Yud, and that whole thing is included in this lion. The Menon, Hathor, the lion-faced human, and so on. There's a whole science to it.
Yes. And of course, it represents the solar lords, the sun creator fields. And according to Thoth, as far as our holographic universe is concerned, the suns, all the star suns, our sun and all of them, are the thresholds for the whole divine dominion, where what we call angels and archangels reside in the whole field of life. So when we activate our solar atoma within us, and that's not just the solar plexus, the atoma is out in front of that, but it connects rather the heart and the solar together. And we have the atoma in the center of the earth, and we have the atoma in the center of the galaxy, and the atoma, it just keeps on going. When we start with our atoma and start connecting all those fields, we become solarized. We become our solar beings start taking form. And so, we're recognizing that field within us, and it becomes real.
Yeah. Yesterday in the sky, 2 nights ago, there was a shooting star that it looked like a golden eagle shooting down. I mean, it had wings on it. It had the beak on the front of the head, and the tail was the big streamer behind it. And I don't think I've ever been in more awe. I mean, it was the most unreal thing I've ever seen. And the energy that came with it was, you know, Bill talks about Aquila, the future central sun of all central suns, the great atoma of what's pulling us from Metatronic or Orotronic into the Metatronic is this golden eagle, the highest spiritual standard that we can possibly attain or is possible for us is this golden eagle standard. And I mean, it was diving towards the planet. And then also Kailasa, you know, can share this with everybody, but I just wanted to mention she saw a starship of some kind that it shot like a shooting star, but it was shooting upwards from the Earth. And when it broke into three, the two side ones did an L shift out of the break.
Oh, wow. You guys, I got to start staying up late.
So she saw hers first going up and creating an L shift, almost like a three-prong thing, like Thoth sign. And then I saw this eagle basically coming right back down with it and shooting it into the Earth. So there is some huge programs coming in.
At the same time that Brennan and Colossus saw that, it was also witnessed by Lindsay's friend and down at Joyful Journey and some others. And an hour or two before, Raymond had looked up in the sky and said, "Look at those stars. It looks like a triangle, but that's a ship." And he started talking to the people on the ship. "Hi." Anthony, about 2 hours later, right before he saw the eagle, looked up and goes, "Those stars are moving. Yeah, there are 3 stars moving."
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of code coming in the last few days. Well, months.
Right. Right. Bill, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, there's a main line, the Umaga line, creating messiahs and everything else. That's an important one, but there's a second one, comes out of the eagle. Missouriel, central sun of all central suns, all universes, that is carried by Aquila, or will be. So in nonlinear time, we use Aquila the eagle, charged and empowered by Missouriel, all central suns. Central sun is to its universe what Christ would be to humans. So all central suns, all universes carried by this Aquila eagle. The other bird there is Cygnus the swan, and Cygnus loads all star systems. So that together then creates a line through Lyra. Lyra translates all of that into mathematics and music. So Lyra, the harp, sends this star stream down, and I'm not going to go into all that, but there's crowns and all sorts of things that pour into that line. And that line that picks up as far as Leo goes, the lion, the Corona, Berenice's Corona, forgot her name, the mother, the Holy Mother with the Holy Child, his crown is empowering, and again, I've forgotten the name of the star, but that's the one that's holding Missouriel now. And then it makes another connection in with the lion, Leo. And then it comes on down, a few other things. Loads the whole Christ sword. Christ came as a sword. That sword is a creation tool, it's not a weapon. That's loaded with an infinite number of programs. So that very, very, very powerful star line goes through Corvus the crow, the blackbird, or the Selah bird, and then into the crater, the Grail. So that whole Grail dynamic is charged and loaded by all of this huge star line. So that complements the Umaga. What's that? The Star of the Magi, I guess it is. That line that with Sirius in it, and Orion, and our central sun. So that line, the two lines together then are, right, I would consider the two primary star lines totally charged for the whole stellar scenario,
Mm-hmm.
at least as we would know it now.
Yep. Thanks, Bill. That's great. Joanna?
Yes. This morning in the meditation, I think you and I also talked about it, Maya, when we talked, those chambers deep, deep, deep beneath Giza.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill just brought up the, this morning I was given the sacred rose, and then I thought about it some more, and then the dragon, the Quetzalcoatl, that name, I can't pronounce that name that's on the chat.
Or whatever, yeah.
And so that came up to me this morning as I was grocery shopping, because I was connecting that rose, but the energies this week are directly related to, from what I'm sensing, the deep, deep chambers beneath Giza, that rose line. And Bill just said I was also gifted the return of the Magi. And so it has something to do with all of these grid lines into our next level of Christed consciousness that we're acting upon.
Well, of course, the Rose Mystica, the 72 petals of the Rose Mystica, plays a big role in just about everything that Thoth links into it. That seems to be at the center, you know. Before we go any further, I just want to read this one little thing. I found it. This is on the line of Judah. This comes from issue 497. That's 1997 of Temple Doors. And this was right after our return from facilitating the trip to Egypt, the Sinai, and then we went on to Jerusalem and Jordan. So anyway, Thoth, this is a quote from Thoth, so to speak. The heart of the lion is formed by Jerusalem and Mecca, and thus the dark cube, Kaaba, aligns with Mecca, and the star cube, Ormid, aligns with Jerusalem. The lemniscate, infinity 8 loop, between the two is the field of the heart, with the center point being the actual heart of the lion. This center point is geographically located near Al-Wadi, Saudi Arabia, which there's nothing there, but this little point that says Al-Wadi. Here, buried beneath the sand, is the ancient city of Merizadek, the Lion of Judah. This city was also known in later times, but still very ancient by our standards, as Jiddi, J-I-D-D-I. The current city, Jiddi, or Judah, next to Mecca, was named after the more ancient Merizadek, Jiddi, that was located near Al-Wadi. The center point at Al-Wadi represents Sirius C, a hidden star of Sirius, thus creating a trinity the ancients called Hebola, the name of the power triangle formed in Sirius by the three stars. That's Sirius A, Sirius B that we know of, and then the hidden one, which is C. Excuse me. In most ancient Egypt, this Syrian trinity was also represented by the royal family of Osiris, Father God, Sirius A, Isis, Mother God, Sirius B, and Horus, Son, Sirius C. Anyway, I just wanted to pass that by. Somewhere else he talks about the actual tribe of Judah, but at least I got that part there.
There was a friend with that came with Lindsay, and we were looking at the stars just last night. And at first it was just me and Abby as her name, and Lindsay side still. And I was talking to her about how I've looked at the stars ever since I can remember, since I was a boy, and I haven't ever stopped. And then we were talking about magical experiences of the stars, and she started. She kind of was quiet for a little while, and she said, "Do you see that star over there?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And she kind of described where it was located, and she said, "I see a star moving around that little star," and I didn't see it.
Uh-huh.
I felt that it was real for her and that I just couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what do you think is going on?" And she was like, "The stars are alive." And I've always felt that the stars, each have their own consciousness, but I think that the stellar constellations are actually are going to be so alive once again with source code that they're actually going to start moving. We're going to realize that this universe is very much more fluid. And I learned when I was in Egypt and in the Sinai that Jeddah is a word for luck, and it actually has to do with the heart. And Waji is an ancient name for water.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thanks for that information. Wow.
Yeah. Kind of, the heart of the lion is I don't know what the water thing is, but that limnoscape, that figure 8, and the heart of the lion, maybe that's where the codes are landing on Earth from the stars or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, Philip, that's just a little piece of this whole article on, and Philip has brought it up before on the Kaaba and the Ormid. The Kaaba is the what did you say, the dark cube, not meaning it in a negative way, but it is the dark cube, and then the Ormid is the cube of stars. And there's a lot of information that he's given me through the years about the balance of the two, and the whole field of what we're working with orotronic, metatronic, is it held in the balance, and the balance is in the heart of the lion. Yeah, powerful stuff. Whew. See what time we're cooking here. We're on 3:36. We probably should start winding it down, but does anybody have anything else they'd like to add before we do that?
I'd just like to say that we talked about the humans and the plants and stuff, but also since some of the skulls are doing a whole lot too, and I'd just like to mention Tuesday when we tuned into the skulls for our little precious minute that we get, the skulls sent out these rays to the other stars, and the message was, "We are calling them in."
Whoa.
So
I like that. I like that. Yeah.
Honor that.
Yeah.
Yes,
On the topic of the skulls, this came up in the mountains as well. Rudolf Steiner, in his book of Theosophy, had a little meditation where you just looked at a seed every day and you just literally talked to the seed and asked it to reveal its secrets. And after a while, you'll pretty much crack the genome in that seed. And so Maya had gifted me a skull Amfortis, and I have done that a little bit with that skull. And Anthony's friends, Lindsay and Abby, have just received skulls this week. And I was talking to them about that yesterday or day before. And it's something right now that, that we do every week in Synergy, connecting with the skulls for that minute. But I would encourage those that are keeping skulls, crystals, any talismans, whether it's a wand you've been gifted, any special artifact from your travels, I would really right now suggest daily just sitting with that artifact and meditating with it and asking it to reveal its secrets. That everything is just wanting to speak to us. It's just wide open right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I think that's good advice. For me too. I've been drawn more to my skulls lately as well. For a while they seemed to be almost sleeping, and now it's like I'm feeling the energies moving again, Wow. Well, this has been really wonderful. For one thing, I enjoyed it a great deal. I'm sure all of you did too. It's so wonderful to get together and share on this level. And I'm going to be sharing this video with my list and people and let them experience it with us. And now I really want, the next thing on my agenda is to get to Thoth and ask him if he has anything else to say about the 23rd. Not necessarily, but of course inclusive of our gathering, but I'm talking about in general, the energies of that day, and see what, at least from that source, comes through. I would really like to know. And of course I will share it out with my people. So I guess that's it for today, and I always hate to leave you guys, but we have to get on with our day. So love you all. Thank you so much for participating. I'm going to turn off my